A very good morning, team. A little bit of a different video today. As you can see, I'm currently in an airport, so sorry for the downside underneath view of myself. This is also going to be a little bit of a shorter one. Hope you guys have good audio, and let's just dive into the major dollar pairs and, of course, gold. The key of today's market outlook is that wherever you are, whatever time it is, you always have to just do your stuff, get it done, and obviously don't book a 5 a.m. flight, but sadly this was the only option. Now, diving into EURUSD, we can clearly see that we've pushed further in towards the downside. We've, on the 1 hour time frame, come underneath the overall bump in the road here, which I was looking to take out. Now, obviously, looking at this overall impulse up higher, this is kind of like the impulse in towards the highs. Now, within the overall impulse, we then identify liquidity. Liquidity lies underneath this bump in the road, so it was already expected that we were pretty much going to sell off in towards the downside, especially after not seeing any bullish confirmation after taking out this overall low here. Now, a lot of traders again view this as demand to then look for long position. It's not necessarily wrong, but it's just a much lower probability. And obviously here in the overall retracement, when we were taking out that low, there was no change of character whatsoever, and that's why I was expecting already that the market was going to head down lower. Now, throughout the Asian session, we have seen kind of like a soft push in towards the highs. Let's see what happens. The 1 hour fractal structure is not very convenient for us, because when we retrace into this demand zone here and we take out this liquidity low, you're kind of looking for potential for the long position. But for that long position, you want to see a 1 hour change of character. But the 1 hour change of character high is over here. So I'm not really looking to trade EURUSD unless we head down a little bit lower, and preferably then take out this low over here, tap into this demand zone, and then see the overall bullish confirmation that we need. So yes, you could look for a long here, but it's a lot lower probability, especially with not seeing kind of like 1 hour confirmation here. So that's why I'll most likely just wait for another drop down on EURUSD, and then, for example, look for something like this to then get involved with a long position. This is also obviously the extreme area of demand and the last area of demand from where I expect the market to head up higher, because once that demand zone fills, that would mean that the daily fractal structure would shift, and we could then further see it pull back in towards the downside to, for example, take out this liquidity low down over here. So again, guys, what you need to do is always wait for the market to come into your area of interest, and then wait to see if it gives the confirmation that we require in order to actually take the setup. Because let's say before we are inside of this demand zone, you don't know if EU is a good long. The only moment that you will understand when EU is a good long is when you see the fractal confirmation inside of the actual demand zone itself. Now, with EURUSD pushing in towards the downside yesterday, we can clearly see that the dollar index made a strong push up. And what the dollar index has actually done is given us a fractal break in towards the upside. Because as we can see here, after swiping the overall low of this, let's say, range of this box here, and faking out on the second low of this descending structure, which came into a monthly area of demand, there is definitely potential for further upside here on the dollar index. So what I'm keeping an eye on now is, okay, the daily fractal structure shifted. We saw a candle close above this bearish wick high. This is now the sell before the buy up. So let's see how today closes. If today again closes as a bullish candlestick, then I'll just be looking for further longs in towards next week here on the dollar index. If today we see some kind of massive rejection back in towards the downside, and let's say close underneath here, then we can look for another short in towards the downside. So today's candle close for myself will be extremely critical, and I am preferring in some way a bullish candle close again today, as I'll then have the confirmation that we're going to see all of these descending highs here get taken out. But if we again just start chopping down lower and lower, then we could just take out this low again, and then, for example, look for the retest next week, and then further short the dollar index. So that's what I'm explaining. Today's candlestick closure on the dollar index is going to be a very important one. Now, moving on into AUDUSD. AUDUSD retraced further in towards the downside yesterday, taking out some liquidity. It's been chopping around the 3 monthly open level over here, and it has the potential just to continue bouncing back in towards the highs. Obviously, it's going to be dependent on what the dollar index does, but I'm not a very big fan of Aussie dollar due to its overall consolidative nature that we've been seeing over here. Waiting personally for some new developments until setups, because look, you might have, for example, this here as a supply zone, but then you're literally trading on top of the 3 monthly open, which is never really an ideal area to go short, to be honest. Also, if you look at it just from a logical perspective, key level of support and resistance as well doesn't make sense. Overall market structure is bullish. You've nearly retraced into the 0.5 fib. I'm now using the range trading tool, but if we use premium versus discount, you can see we've pretty much retraced in 0.5 fib. So I wouldn't be surprised if we just head up higher. Australian dollar is also pretty bullish fundamentally. If you want to know why, make sure to check out Discord. But for the rest, yeah, I'll be keeping my hands off this until further development. Then going into GBPUSD, we can see that GBPUSD sold off yesterday again with a daily bearish candle closure. Now the buy before the sell here is the overall supply zone that I'm looking for a further short position from in towards the downside. So what I'm going to be looking for is maybe a retest of this overall 4-hour buy before the sell, and then look for another sell off in towards the downside once the 1-hour time frame gives some fractal confirmation. So keeping an eye on the short positions once we potentially retrace a little bit higher throughout the day, and let's see how high GU pushes before the next potential impulse in towards the downside to further complete the overall impulsive phase that we are currently experiencing here on GBPUSD. Again, I'm going to keep it relatively simple here. Push down, we've had the retracement back in towards the highs, we've taken out liquidity, and now I expect the overall impulsive phase to continue, but obviously will also be dependent on what the dollar index does today. But so far GU is looking the most bearish, as the pound is also relatively bearish, and I am favoring those GU shorts as of still. I don't think that's good English, but you guys understand what I mean. Now moving on into NZDUSD, we can see that NZDUSD keeps selling off. This thing, I'm looking just for a retest of this range. Actually, what I would love to see is maybe some form of manipulation on the high of that range, take out the bump in the road, and then look for a short back in towards the downside. That would be a potential short that I would be willing to take to pretty much the bottom of the range, because NZDUSD is kind of like a big range over here where we've swept the overall range high, and now we're looking to go towards the range low. So let's see if we can get one more shorting opportunity once we take out liquidity, maybe even rejecting the monthly open, and then look for shorts down towards this liquidity low. And if that happens, that is then the setup that I'll be looking for, those shorts on NU. Going into USDCHF, USD Yen, USDCAD and Gold, USDCHF pushed further in towards the highs yesterday with that dollar impulse. Overall for USDCHF, I'm only looking for a sell once we take out this high here and then get bearish confirmation, because the way that I look at it is that this here is the overall impulsive phase in towards the downside. This here is the overall liquidity high that we have, and then we had the break of structure here, swing high, swing low. So within the overall impulse, then the next thing that you always need to identify is the bump in the road that will act as liquidity, and for me that could be the overall bump in the road together with the monthly open if we get bearish confirmation once we take out that high, and only then. So I'm not going to sell when it comes into that high. So don't say, Fabio, can I sell USDCHF now? No, we need to wait to see if we get the confirmation when price comes in towards that high. Next is USDJPY, which has also pushed further in towards the upside. This thing needs to take out this high over here. Only then can we look for potential pullback trade. That's as simple as it is, but yeah, very nice to see that the overall range play and the overall bias that we've had throughout the week has played out beautifully, with the further upside being realized. Going into USDCAD, the Canadian dollar remains extremely weak. There is a case for a short-term pullback to be made, as we're currently trading at premium pricing, so at the 75% fib level, and we've taken out a major bump in the road. So there is a case to make that this could correct deeper before seeing the next leg in towards the upside, as fundamentally I know that the Canadian dollar is extremely weak and that there is a case to be made for further upside on USDCAD. So keep an eye on that, but for the rest, not really a pair that I'm very interested in due to the consolidative nature. And then last of all, of course, we have gold. Now gold finally made a retracement yesterday. What I'm now pretty much interested in is not this demand zone here on the daily time frame, but if we look at liquidity on the daily, we can see here a liquidity low, and we have some ascending lows here on gold. So we have these ascending lows. So I would be looking for a liquidation event to occur before looking for a further upside push here on gold, maybe next week or so, but at the moment not really looking for a trade. You could look still for some short-term shorts to liquidate this low. There is a trade there potentially, but it's not really in my plan to short a market that is as bullish as this. So I would prefer to just wait to see if the overall liquidation event happens, and then I'll be looking for long. At current levels, I'm not very interested in looking for longs. We have liquidated this low here. So yes, we could start pushing up, but I would really like to see that on the daily happen, what I just explained. That would be so beautiful for some further upside, or for the next upside push, if that could occur. So that's it for today, guys. A relatively short one. I'm going to be trying to go live inside Discord later today, so make sure to join the Discord. There will not be a YouTube live today, as it's just simply not possible with the current setup that I have traveling. But I hope you guys understand, and thanks for watching as always. A little bit of an early video today, but make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And as always, wherever we are in the world, I'll always record a market outlook for you guys, and I appreciate you taking the time to watch it. Thanks, guys.